Hey guys, it's Joe and Justin with VMP's Tuning Tuesday episode 42. So, unexpectedly, Justin is back significantly sooner than we had previously anticipated. You were going to be doing the drag wake thing, so what all happened there?
Well, the short of it is, the F-150 is too fast. I'll tell, well, we got a video, we'll tell you more about it, but we'll save it for the video that's coming out.
Okay.
Viper Killer F-150, too much drama.
Drama Nation with the F-150. So, you're back. Are there plans of doing any other events in lieu of not going to drag week anymore?
You know, it's getting cooler in Florida, so we've got Wednesday and Friday night test and tune in Orlando, which we're going to take advantage of. There's the one upside to being back early is there's plenty of work to do around here.
Yeah, there's no shortage of stuff to do here.
I'm looking forward to getting on the dyno with some various projects and doing some more tuning on my GT500 and some big throttle body testing on my GT500, which I was actually going to ask you to do, but I'm here now.
Oh, well, that takes a little bit off my workload then.
Yeah, we've got the 18 car to go on the dyno. Rick Hackness's car is just about finished up, but I could always spend more time on that thing trying to make more horsepower.
We just need to buy you a Cobra.
Oh, yeah.
We could go down that road.
Yeah.
But I guess.
Yeah, Mustang week. I mean, gosh, Mustang week and the opening to drag week. It's only Tuesday. I left on Thursday morning, but it feels like it's been quite a long time.
Long week.
Yeah.
So anything exciting happened at Mustang week this year? Noteworthy?
Yeah, you know, people getting arrested and just, I mean, really, just general craziness. I mean, the arrest thing's like a big deal, so.
I see that Mother Nature's about to deal some swift justice onto the Carolinas for that.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
man.
thank gosh. I mean, it's coming a week after Mustang week because last year it came a day after Mustang week.
Yeah. Didn't your father-in-law get stuck up there?
Yeah, we were all stuck up there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we waited there. We stayed an extra day or two after Mustang week, and then we jetted home on Sunday or Monday, and luckily beat the 95 Roush back to Florida because the hurricane last year ended up being nothing.
Yeah.
And apparently all store shelves are already clearing out in the Carolinas and stuff.
Oh, man.
Somebody posted this morning they were avoiding drag week because of all the rain, so it's a new thing to have to deal with hurricanes like in and around Mustang week.
Yeah.
So, because it was always in July in the summer.
Oh, man. Are there any questions that are noteworthy coming through that we want to hit off the bat?
Beards and Cars wants to know, do I need a retune after I swap my rear gears from 373 to 355 or 331s on a 2015 GT? He's boosted right now. So
the whole tune for gears thing on S550 is kind of like I guess not very well documented or well known. The vehicle speed's picked up off the wheel speed sensor on a S550.
No longer in the transmission, but off of wheel speed.
Exactly.
It's just kind of smarter. That's how like trucks have been doing it for a while. A lot of cars do it.
Exactly.
So you're after the ring and pinion.
Yeah, so the only thing you really have to worry about is the acceleration rate differences between a 331 car and a 373 car with a power adder. But again, the shift points are calculated based off output shaft speed, which rear and gear ratio has nothing to do with. 11 to 14 car, kind of a different story. Those are calculated off mile per hour for shift speeds, and if you're changing rear gears, your calculation for mile per hour has to change as well. So there's stuff that we have to do for that stuff, but S550s, there's not nearly as much stuff that we have to do. Is it a good idea to talk to us if you're doing a gear change and see if you're going to need a tune update? Absolutely. Is it something that is usually make or break in a setup? No.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a small change. I would run the car and see how his speedo is going to be correct. I would run the car. If you're happy with how it runs, leave well enough alone. If you request an update for another reason, we can just punch it in the notes that it's got the different gear ratio. Now, I will say S550, because you've gone through this now on a couple cars. If you change transmission gear ratio in a manual, that causes all kinds of havoc. That you've been able,
even an 11 to 14 GT.
yeah, Yeah, it's worse on 11 to 14, or it's worse on 15 to 17, but it happens on 11 to 14 too. No cruise control. I mean, it took the tuning industry a long time to get that all figured out.
It did. It did.
There's like, if you figure you've got 6 forward gears and you've got 1 reverse gear, there's like 20 plus gear ratio parameters.
He states that his car's manual. Just
manual, okay.
Yep.
So manual, he doesn't have to worry about shift point calculations.
Nope, none of that stuff. So if your car is manual, you don't really have to worry about getting
Yeah.
a tune changed for a gear ratio swap.
The computer already knows the accurate transmission gear ratios.
Derek wants to know, how much power do you think the 10R80 can hold? I noticed the 10R80 on the ZL1 and Raptor has a higher torque rating than the Mustang GT.
I'm going to say...
No power? Is
Well-
that 0 power? Or is
Well,
that
one of our buddies' cars is sitting at the Ford dealer, probably about to get lemon lawed with the 10R80.
just a stock car, stock tune type thing?
Yeah, they put in a valve body, a transmission, and they still haven't fixed it. The last I heard. So, but however, our car, which was it was delivered on Thanksgiving Day, right after it got off the transporter from Ford. It's been fine, right? I mean, we've got 3,000-4,000 miles on it.
Yeah, I'd say here about 5% of maybe the ones that are out there. I don't really have a good sample size, but I'd say you hear like 5% of them having issues.
Yeah.
And then you got the other 95% that are fine, and you got the 1 or 2% that are actually pushing these things hard that aren't really having too many very distinct failures.
Yeah, so I mean, so far it looks, you know,
it looks like if you're going to have a problem, you'll probably have it when you're stock.
Yeah.
As well as when you're power adder. So it doesn't really seem to be any limit of power at this point besides like I've heard the 7th gear holding clutches. In terms of holding power in 7th gear, it doesn't hold it very well. So you're having to run out 6th gear or something at the track.
How fast do you have to be going to be the top of 7th gear at watt?
I'd have to look at calculations for it.
It's over 150 miles an hour, right?
I want to say it's over 153, 154, but that really depends on your gear ratio and tire size.
Avery wants to know, do you guys offer an NA tunes?
Absolutely.
We do. On a significant amount of platforms.
Yeah.
Beards and Cars came back. He was the one that was talking about the gear swaps. So being boosted, what gear do you guys recommend?
It depends on the power adder. If it's a centrifugal supercharger, they like quite a bit of gear, like a 373 in a manual car. If it's a PD blower, Kenne Bell, Whipple, Roush, something like that, then if you're running like a 27.5, 27.2 inch tire, like a 331 for a car that's making a pretty good amount of power. The max I'd go if it's making like 600-700 range at the tire would be a 355, but even then I kind of like the 331 or 315. It depends on how much power the car is making and the type of power header.
Some of these are kind of funny coming in. Dave Murdoch says, hey, you guys know my car, probably now with JLT. It's probably about 760 at the tires right now. He wants 1,000 horsepower. How much around would make it safe for his motor? Will the Roush blower do it, or does he need to go with the Gen3 and the MT82 upgrade?
Go ahead. Was there any more to that one, or is that
no? His big thing is the MT82 upgraded trainee hold it. Is what he says. So
I think he's referring to Ben Calamer's G-Force gear set in a MT82. It should hold it. Our stock MT82 held it on the dyno. I don't know how long it would have lasted on the street or on the track at 1,000 horsepower. Probably not very long. In my opinion, though, if you're looking to make over 1,000 horsepower and do so reliably through the transmission, you should really think about a TR6060. If for whatever reason you like the ratio stack up in a MT82 more, or you're just looking to keep it with the MT82, Ben Calamer's transmission is a great option. In terms of power that Roush blower is going to be capable of, I can't think of any Roush supercharged 1517 that has made 1,000 wheel without an additional power adder like nitrous.
I mean, even to get close, a lot of engine work and stuff. So
yeah,
I mean, Gen3 is the best answer.
Yeah, I would think E85 cams maybe a little bit of a compression bump. A 2.3 could do 1,000 wheel, but the 2650 is just, it's not really going to struggle to do 1,000 wheel with those same mods. So I'd say 2650 is your best bet, but if I were you, I know your car, Dave, I know you. If you want to make 1,000 wheel and do so reliably, do it with a built motor. If your goal is 1,000 wheel and you're only going to use like a race gas like the Sunoco 260 GT I think you're using, then go with a little bit of a compression bump at the same time that you do a motor.
Dave came back. He said, yes, you were correct. And he said, okay, thanks. Thought so.
No problem, Dave.
David Ray says, if I go from 85 millimeter to 79 millimeter, will my tune revision have reduced timing? On a 17 GT Gen2R currently, seeing 20 degrees in my logs in third and fourth.
Well, that's a great question.
So is he asking if he's going to see less timing in a data log with a tune revision? Or is it just going to naturally probably use less timing?
Let's blow their mind.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, it's going to automatically run less timing.
Yep. So a 79 millimeter pulley at sea levels, generally peaking around like 165 to 169 load at watt. So that moves you up in the borderline knock tables as opposed to an 85 millimeter pulley, which is probably around 145, 151 load.
Damn it, Joe. I was going to bring my laptop so I could show everybody spark tables.
It'd be so much fun.
Yeah, we'll have to get a laptop interface.
So it's automatically going to pull a little timing out there, but if you're seeing 20 to 21 degrees of timing on one of our tunes on an 85 millimeter pulley, it's not doing that in base timing, it's doing that with the knock sensor adder. So the knock sensor adder probably isn't going to add in as much timing on a 79 millimeter pulley as it did with the 85. And that's not because of anything specifically that we're doing in the tune so much as it is the knock sensors are going to get more activity with more boost than they are currently as long as your octane stays the same.
Yeah, we've got a couple factors here that come into play with more airflow and more boost. The load calculation and then the actual knock tolerance of the engine.
He says, he's come back, he says, are you going to command less? And then knock sensor shows 0.
Yeah, if knock sensor shows 0, you're on individual knock sensor control, which the knock sensors are still working. It's just pulling out it's pulling out spark on an individual cylinder basis, not on a global basis.
And to data log it, you have to data log each individual knock sensor with a tool like HP Tuners. I don't think SCT supports individual knock sensors right now.
On some strategies, they do.
Some strategies, they've got VMRs, okay.
At the end of the day, you don't really need to log it. If you're over 17 degrees, the knock sensors are happy. That's kind of like what we call out for base timing around 1.5 load under normal operating conditions. So if it's adding in up to 20, 21 degrees, it's doing so on the knock sensor adder. So knock sensors are happy. And
that's that's something like, that's kind of like the extreme case, I should say, because low boost takes a lot of timing, very happy motor. There are gains from going to a smaller pulley, but
and I think he was asking, are we going to call out less timing?
Yeah, we're not going to, but the tables are going to.
At 169, 17 load, calling out, it'd probably call out around 16 degrees in that region is base timing, and then it'll add in based on the knock sensor adder.
But Joe, what if we did not rescale load for a boosted car, and we just used the timing table from a naturally aspirated car, and we just changed the top row every time the customer changed pulleys?
So you're talking about like when you see a file that's like 1.1 load on the y-axis on a car that sees 1.8 load, and it's like they just have 1.1 load set at, we'll call it 13 degrees, and it's like, all right, so that car just must be really fucking lazy at part throttle.
Yeah, that's
or they have the knock sensor advance limit set to 10.
I am going to coin a new acronym.
What?
NTMF.
Oh, okay. I think I see where you're going there.
Yes. Yes. Non-tuning. No, I mean that's what separates like the skilled people from the unskilled people, is like use all the tools that are given to you in the PCM, you know, as far as the ability for the computer to see airflow, calculate load, and change timing accordingly, because you get more part throttle power and you're not making full boost.
Daryl is asking, what is boost?
Oh, that's a good one.
Boost?
What does it mean to you?
So boost, in its most common unit of measurement as we see it, is pressure. So why would an engine build pressure? An engine is an air compressor, and you're measuring pressure on the inlet side of a compressor. So that is restriction on the inlet side of a compressor. Or if you're boosted, you're generating more airflow that cannot be adequately pushed through a compressor than it is naturally ingesting. So like you start getting into like pressure ratios and stuff, but let's say your ambient, like barometric pressure, we'll call it like 14.7 psi at sea level, or 30 to 31 inches of mercury at sea level. When you have a supercharger or a turbocharger, you are sucking air into the engine on the inlet side and blowing it into the intake manifold faster than the engine's capable of ingesting it, or filling the manifold quicker than it's able to exhale through the exhaust ports and through the cylinder. So
the engine is like just a big restriction.
It is. So your compressor on top of your compressor is more efficient than your bottom compressor.
Yeah. But the art of it comes in how you compress the air, how efficiently you compress the air, what you do with it on the way there, how you tune it. I never thought about it that way, Joe.
So it's all about the pressures, horse pressures, as Donnie would say.
Like measure of restriction is what boost is, but like that's how we create boost. That's why the restriction occurs. And then when that engine ingests the air, instead of ingesting it at atmospheric pressure, it's ingesting it at a multiplier of atmospheric pressure. So it ingests more.
Exactly.
And makes more horsepower because of it.
More air, more fuel equals more horsepower.
It's that freaking simple.
It is.
We should have figured this out a long time ago.
We should have. We could probably be tuners.
I see we're getting a lot of love right now on Facebook. I see the hearts and the likes coming through. Just a reminder, if you like these shows, make sure you give us some love and share them across the board, so that way people know. Also, if you didn't know, we've been asked multiple times to create a blog post. Podcasts, and these are now available in podcast form. So if you need the information, let me know. But we do have this available for podcasts.
Nice.
On iTunes and on Android and on SoundCloud. So it should be accessible, and that way you guys can listen to them when you're on the road.
What's a podcast?
Did I hear an echo of what Donnie was saying earlier?
I think I know what a podcast is. I listen to them sometimes with Rebecca. It's cool. We're on a podcast now. That's pretty cool, Joe.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and all the episodes are out there, except for obviously what's there right now, what's going on right now. But it'll be there shortly.
Okay.
Supreme Alpha Male wants to know, what are your opinions on the Ford Performance Power Packs for the GT?
Oh, hold on a second. Supreme Alpha Male.
Yep.
He's asking for our opinion.
That sounds like a beta thing to do.
Yeah.
Just messing with you, man. So the Ford Performance Power Packs, in my opinion, work pretty good. In some cases, you're able to keep the warranty. You still get a aftermarket tune, and they work pretty good. But at the end of the day, if you need anything other than what's specifically included in that kit, you still have to get an aftermarket tune. So my thought process with the Ford Performance Packs is that if you buy a car and you tell yourself and you tell your wife, hey, I'm only going to do this to it, and
you're lying.
You're
straight out lying.
You're lying to yourself and her. But if that's what you need to do to justify it to yourself, then let's just say you wanted the GT350 intake manifold, the cold air in the throttle body, and you're like, all right, that's it. That's all I'm going to do. We're going to ride out like that until the car is paid off. I think the Ford Performance Packs are a good idea at that point if you don't plan on doing anything to the car for 5 years. If you if you wanted to just do things in steps gradually, like year by year with tax returns or what have you, I think that getting an aftermarket tune for the mods that you're wanting is a better route to go if you don't have quite as much of a concern about warranty.
Yeah, if you've got the customization ability, you know, we can tune for whatever combination you end up running, because we use all the same parts, we tune for all the same parts. But, you know, the Ford Performance Packs are sold under the whole, the dealer installs it and there's some type of warranty.
Yeah, and the Ford Performance Packs, you pay for a GT350 intake manifold, which if you watch our recent video on intake manifold testing, that 18 intake manifold in and of itself could save you a lot of money as opposed to buying a Ford Performance PP2 or PP3 pack.
And, you know, full disclosure, any type of racing or abuse can void a warranty. You could have a Ford Performance Pack and beat the hell out of the car, and it doesn't mean that they'll cover it if they think it was abuse. And on the flip side, the stuff we do doesn't necessarily void the warranty unless it specifically caused the damage.
Exactly.
Derek says, with a good tune on 93, how much power do you think the 18 GT motor can safely hold?
All of it.
It depends on how much air you're pushing into the engine.
Um,
Like if you're just talking naturally aspirated, I think a car with stock cams could probably safely make, did you say on 93?
93.
93.
Okay, so on 93, I think that you're not going to really get over 500 wheel on a manual car. If you do, it's really sweet 93, or you're being really aggressive with it from a tuning standpoint. I think in order to get that safety margin, you really need a higher octane fuel to get over that 500 mark and do so reliably. As long as we're talking stock cams here, because as far as I'm aware, no one makes a camshaft for the 18 up engines yet with the drive for the high pressure pump.
So, and I'm going to take this question a little more like up there. So it's safe to modify it. I mean, we've seen great power out of them. Like Joe said, 93 is a limiting factor. You know, it's safe to supercharge them.
He says boosted.
Boosted, okay. So octane's going to be the first limitation.
Yeah, boosted on 93. It's going to depend on the efficiency of your compressor, temperatures, all that type of stuff. But I'd say on 93, we'll call it 700 wheel.
Yeah, somewhere.
It really depends on how happy it is with your fuel quality, though.
Somewhere in that general range.
And we're talking manual car here.
Yeah, best possible numbers. Auto sucks up a little more horsepower. Joe, there was something else I was thinking about this. I will say a few general things. The 18 is the newest Coyote motor. It has 4 NOx sensors.
All the compression.
12-to-1 compression, but the DI system helps with cylinder cooling, in-cylinder cooling to deal with that high compression. The aftermarket is generally a lot smarter than it was when the Coyote came out in 2011, because what was the whole hashtag, like cylinder 8 delete tune? Did Alex start that or something?
I'm not sure if he started or if someone else did, but yeah, that was a thing for a while.
And that was like, I think that was some bad tuning. It was turning off NOx sensors, desensitizing NOx sensors, weighting factors.
Or the torque limit stuff in 1112s that caused it to go Lambda 1.0 at Watt.
Yeah, I saw my boss do that one in the stock tune. Like, oh, Lambda 1, nice, this really does happen.
Yeah.
So the aftermarket is smarter. The engines are the best they've ever been. You know, you don't have a whole lot to worry about.
Yeah.
Peyton says, how much power difference do you think an F-150 Coyote with a 10.5 to 1 compression and a Mustang Coyote with 11 to 1 compression will be if cams, intake, etc. are the same?
I'd say 20 horsepower probably.
Oh, gosh.
Everything else being the same, only difference being compression.
And they say I heard one person tell me that the F-150 cams were the same in 15 to 17, but I don't see how, because it doesn't make the peak numbers that the Mustang engine makes.
Compression though.
It's only half a point of compression though.
We can test it.
Yeah.
We'll start a GoFundMe. We'll buy 2 engines. We'll take them to an engine dyno and we'll test them. You just got to raise $30,000 and we'll do it.
Oh man.
Jamie says, can a PMAS get a funky MAF signal when cruising around 40 miles per hour, causing my VMP tuned car to hunt back and forth for a gear?
Hunt back and forth for a gear?
That's what he says.
Not that I can think of. Hunting back and forth for a gear would usually be like a pedal position thing moving around or something else going on. I'd say that if you're having an issue like that, you're probably better off emailing us and trying to get that figured out instead of trying to figure out if the PMAS is causing it or not. The only thing that would be something that could cause an issue like that is if you had a grill that was like completely open and it caused a lot of mass airflow noise from the air coming at the mass airflow sensor in weird directions. But the PMASs are usually pretty good about handling stuff like that.
Derek says he has a Whipple Stage 2 on a base model auto 18 GT with 720 horsepower to the wheels. Would you recommend upgrading to 355 gears to get a better quarter, 1/4 quarter ETA, or stay with the 315s?
I would say with the 315s if you have an 18 and the
first gear is so short, especially with a power adder. You don't want to make it any shorter.
Yeah.
Jonathan says, I want to do the Hellion twin turbo kit. I have read that you guys are good tuners. I'm doing the turbo kit, which he says, which should I choose? Luntune told me to get the tuner kit instead of the regular twin turbo kit. So I guess he's trying to decide whether or not he should get the regular kit or a twin turbo kit, is what it comes down to.
Well,
I want to say that there'd probably be a tuner twin turbo kit and then a non-tuner twin turbo kit.
And then he wants to know how much would you charge to retune it?
So, did he say in there what year's car is it all? Like
let me see.
11
He
to
sent
14
a
or
couple
15,
messages.
17?
No, he doesn't say what year. He says he wants to push about 10 pounds or boost. He is currently on E85, 3-inch catless, full exhaust.
Okay.
So, we'll just break it down because it's another power adder just like our stuff.
He's trying to get to 700 to 800 real wheel.
Okay.
There's a pretty big difference between 700 wheel and 800 wheel. I think with a twin turbo setup, 700 wheel in manual cars, very possible. Really depends on your fuel quality. Probably going to be a little bit closer to like 680, 690-ish.
The big limitation is factory fuel pump on corn.
Yeah, that, and if he's going E85, or he is currently E85 on a naturally aspirated setup, that doesn't mean that with a power adder you're going to have the fuel system and fuel injectors necessary to support E85. Turbos are usually a bit easier on fuel systems than blowers are from how far you can take it horsepower-wise before needing fuel system upgrades, but don't take that as like oh yeah, you can run stock injectors on a turbo setup and run E85. On a setup like that, I'd say minimum ID 1050Xs if you're looking to be over 800 wheel in the future, like closer to the 900, 1000 wheel mark, looking to getting a set of ID 1300s. The tuner kit that Lund recommended wouldn't be a bad idea for someone like you if you do plan on going down the E85 route. But
he just commented it's a 16 GT Premium automatic.
Okay, so 700 wheel, doable on 10 pounds. I don't think it'll happen on 93. E85, absolutely. But
fuel system concerns.
Exactly. Then we got to start getting into like ID 1050Xs, and if not looking into a booster at minimum, well, we're talking E85, so boosters kind of on that line.
It's a real big band-aid.
Yeah.
I mean, 8 to 10 pounds, we might be able to get away with it, but you can't always get away with it.
Exactly. It'd really be a better idea to throw a return fuel system in the car at that point.
What Joe's telling you is you just need to spend more money.
Yeah.
I mean,
if that's realistically your goal, 700-800 wheel on a 16 GT auto.
It'll do it. Just do it right.
Yeah, and it might be a cheaper option for you to just do a race gas or a like 93 with Boostane on a pump style fuel or a race gas. So
I could agree with that. I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, like 93 in Boostane or 93 in Torco.
I mean, as long as you give us more octane to work with than 93, it doesn't have to be a whole lot more. 100 is fine. Like we're way more happier as tuners with the tuning, with the timing knob.
He says he also wants to stay at E85. They told me I need to return fuel line, 7 pounds.
They are accurate.
Yep.
Turbinator Lou says he's got a Coyote swap Fox body with a 2015 engine, Stage 2 supercharger cams JLT, long tubes, and an 18 intake manifold. Wants to know any rear wheel numbers that he should be at or around on 93 pump.
Not sure because I don't know what blower's on your car if you're running a 18 manifold. It's not ours.
So stage 2 blower cams, he could potentially not have a blower. Just gonna throw that out there.
He could. He could. Did he say he was boosted in the beginning?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Doesn't say anything about boost.
450 to 500.
Depends on the cams because like
Yeah.
I've seen some companies stage 1 cam make as much as a stock cam.
Yeah.
And I spent probably 3 hours on the dyno moving cams around on that thing, and I only saw power go down, not up. So
It's cam timing's funny. Sometimes your first shot is the best shot.
yeah, and if he's talking about like comp stage 2 blower cams, is usually pretty good.
I've used them before. I mean, it's a little bump. It's not really a lope. They're pretty small, but they idle nice and
Yeah.
make good torque. You know.
Yeah. So I'd say if we're talking a manual car, which since it's a swap car, pretty likely 440, 450 wheel.
Yeah. On 93, I mean, timing's not going to be crazy.
Yeah, and if if you're E85 or really good 93, we could get you up around the like 470, 480 mark pretty easy. If the cams are super happy for whatever reason on the naturally aspirated setup, 500 may not be out of the question.
Yeah, I mean, this is all, caveat. These are all like average numbers that we feel like we could go out to the dyno, after the show and actually make on a combo.
Not glory pole stuff.
Yeah, not perfect weather conditions. Ringer car that makes 400 stock at the
Or
tire.
good quality 93, and like I saw on our YouTube post about the intake manifold testing. Oh, like there's no way in hell the car's making that power at the wheels, and it's like, well, it is. You saw it in the video.
But it's straight through exhaust.
That and it's
331 gears.
331 gears, so it has a really tall gear.
It's been beat the shit out of, so the clearances are loose.
It's all nice.
You know?
I was gonna say it's all nice and tight now.
So the everything is lined up for that car to make a good power number.
Dale says, how goes your 18 Roush GT? Any updates?
We're playing with it. It's fun. The new pulleys, the smaller pulleys, are getting closer to production.
I had some people asking me about pulleys and stuff on Facebook Messenger for
Okay.
and stuff. So,
The design.
do you know
is,
sizes or anything like that yet? In case they're watching.
Yeah, a lot of the sizes are dictated by what's possible. So 2.7 is going to be the smallest.
Okay.
There's going to be a 2.8, a 2.9, and a 3.0.
Okay.
Just
and is that the possibility because of a snout clearance issue, or the possibility because we're having to work with a 6-rib setup?
Snout clearance.
Okay.
And 6-rib and belt slip, TBD, depending on the specific combination and stuff.
Okay.
So, because I know you ran, a smaller pulley with the wrong offset at one point and it jumped.
Yeah.
So these, of course, will have the right offset, but we're at the limit of the 6-rib. Mercy of the 6-rib. Don't know that we're at the limit, just the mercy of it.
Exactly. And we ran Track Attack 6-rib on the dyno.
Yeah, we've run some crazy shit 6-rib on the dyno.
Yeah.
And we're going to make a 3.0, but like stock is up like around 3.1.
Okay.
So, for what that's worth.
Turbinator Lou just came back and he says not boosted yet.
Okay.
Slowpoke says, what is the average 60-foot with a 13 through 14 GT with a 79 millimeter blower auto with stock torque converter?
So if we're talking 93, I'd say what, 155, 16 60 foot?
Yeah, in ideal conditions, I'd say, ideal cold weather, you can get in the 1.5s, because even with a stock torque converter, all that cool, dense air, the thing just makes more torque than it already does.
Right on the
I think Kevin was running 1.6s, 1.7s. So one of our good customers who had a magazine article on his car was out at Drag Week, is out at Drag Week right now, and
he's got the red S197.
yeah, okay. Yeah, he actually ran an awesome time this morning. Okay. Here it is right here. This is his time from yesterday, Joe. So a 1.66 60-foot, a 10.9 87 at 127.76. This is a full weight car, automatic, and is that video of it right there, Chris? Yeah, full weight car, 82 millimeter pulley on pump gas. And actually on Sunday, I set him up with a mild Boostane tune and an aggressive Boostane tune. He's a bracket racer, so he needs
Consistency.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, no offense to our boy over there, but he's a bigger boy, so it's not, if it's a full weight car with him in it, that's pretty good considering.
Yeah. And he's actually gone, the car's gone like a 1082 in cooler weather with a smaller driver.
Nice.
But he's done a drive shaft and like an X-pipe, and
Nice.
he's got these more aggressive tunes to play with now. So it's going to go at 1050 this winter.
Nice.
And I'm sure it'll go like a 1.560 foot as well.
Oh, did you hear Bobby Grover? One of we've been a customer of ours probably about 3 years now, ever since he got the car. But he's got almost 40,000 miles on the car now, drives his car out to a bunch of events, and drives all the way there from Minnesota, races, drives all the way back home. But he recently came down for some stuff, and he ended up going a 990 this past weekend.
What?
In Oklahoma.
Nice. On his way back to Florida.
Or no, on his way back to Minnesota.
Oh, way back to
Minnesota.
Minnesota from Florida with a trunk full of race gas, a bomb waiting to go off.
Exactly.
We're gonna make a meme about that. So.
Well, I was excited for Bobby.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This car's been a pretty consistent, like 1030s, 1050 car.
I know you were sorting some stuff out on the dyno when I left on Thursday for Mustang Week. What did it end up making?
I don't know if I can say, because I know that he has friends that kind of watch his car that he kind of plays around with.
Yeah.
So I'll withhold that info. But
so there's a lot more left than just the 990.
Yep,
okay.
yeah. And it was still on a pretty big pulley on Gen 3.
Big pulley. Sweet.
50 Rob wants to know who ports the CJ manifolds that we sell already ported.
Brett Barber. He is the man. CNC ports them and hand finishes them.
And I want to say he's with Airflow Solutions.
Airflow Solutions. He does cylinder heads and like anything race related. He's
all about that flow.
Yeah.
Beards and Cars says, do you guys offer or recommend an ice tank on the liquid cooled Kenne Bell?
It ain't gonna hurt.
No, I don't know if our ice tank would fit. Like our 11 to 14 or 15, 17 one?
Yeah, both of our ice tanks will fit, the 11 to 14 that's in stock and the 15 to 17 that's coming out.
Okay.
And I think the liquid cooled Kenne Bell, I'm not sure if it ties into the intercooler lines or the engine coolant lines.
I know that on like GT500s, it's the engine coolant lines.
Yeah, I don't recommend putting ice through their setup unless they say it's okay. But I think, like Joe said, I think it's on the engine coolant lines if I recall. So just check that out and possibly move it over to the engine coolant because they're just trying to keep the front nose drive consistent and keep it from spiking in temperature. So you don't need to ice the nose drive down. That would be bad.
Aaron says, any update on the VMP blower for 18 to 19s?
We're looking at it. We're using the Roush right now. We're supporting the Roush, but we're looking at it.
Speaking of ice tanks, Leonard wants to know, are the ice tanks for TVS blowers back in stock? If not, when will they be available?
We've got a pile of them in stock. Yep.
And that'd be for the 11 to 14 stuff?
11 to 14, yeah.
And then 15, 17s come in. And to clarify, that's 11 to 14 5-liter. We don't make a ice tank for GT500s, correct?
Correct. Yeah, GT500, it's a much, there's not a lot of room. Like I can get 2.5 gallons almost in the front of an 11 to 14 Mustang GT.
Okay.
Which is like, it's 10, 15 pounds of ice. But GT500, there's literally 5 bazillion coolant hoses.
There's hoses on hoses, and then if it's 07 to 10, you got power steering lines.
So I actually talked to a new supplier, and I'd like to hear from everybody watching. If we made a high capacity factory look style tank for GT500, I actually think I could fit 2 or 3 gallons there if it was plastic molded. So I found a supplier that makes them like the factory tanks where there's black on top and there's clear on the bottom and they're pushed together. But they can be like sheet metal, it's hard to make complicated shapes, but with plastic you just design the mold around it.
Yeah.
And but I'm thinking it would kind of be like the factory coolant tank sits over here, and then this one would kind of be like an L shape over here. Probably like integrate the heat shield for the cold air into it.
That'd be pretty sweet.
So that way you take the heat shield out and you get a little more space over there for the ice tank.
A little bit more real estate.
But if that's something you guys are interested in, let us know, because we can, get to work on designing that and offering that.
AK, like, share, and subscribe.
Slabcheck wants to know, does Boostane and Torco do the same or better job than E85 with less volume? I'm looking at the fuel injector clinic 1000 cc's.
I'd say that they do a decent job of getting it almost to where E85 can get you, but I still think E85 or race fuel is the be-all, end-all.
And maybe we can like break it down a little bit more. Like the additive, like he's thinking about volume, so he doesn't want to have to upgrade the fuel system, but like the additive, I think like makes 93 better, I guess.
Yeah.
Because 93 is honestly pretty bad, especially low quality 93.
Especially when you're talking about cars that make 600 to 800 horsepower.
Yeah. So Boostane and Torco help like make 93 sufficient. Like E85 is a whole nother ball game, really, right?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's cheap race gas. It just has the problem of needing more volume than most race gases do.
It's got oxygen. E85's got oxygen locked up in it. It's liquid oxygen, and it's higher octane, and it has a cooling effect. So you're like getting all these benefits.
Can you imagine if we could run cars off of liquid oxygen? It'd be rockets. If you see what I did there.
Literally.
No Limits Racing says, I'm game for a GT500 ice tank.
Okay. Nice.
Michael says, please help guys, which pulley can I use for my 1.9 VMP blower to reach max power?
The smallest one. So it really depends on your short block and stuff like that, because you can just keep pulling down until you get to our smallest pulley and keep making more and more and more power, but you're going to reach the limit of the short block on a 1.9 or 3 valve setup very quickly.
What were you going to add, Carrie?
He's on an 07 GT. His block will get forged internals, and I want to reach it with 93 pump. 12% overdrive with 69 pulley currently.
Yeah, the compression ratio on pump gas is going to be a problem. Like you could only run pump gas with like a really low compression ratio.
Yeah, and the problem
lowering compression ratio costs power.
It's like the knife in my side. I want to make the most power possible on 93.
But I want to put the fuel in it that I just said was pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly.
His goal is to reach 650 on 17 to 18 PSI.
Well, the good news is we've done it before with the 1.9.
Yeah.
I've made like 695, almost 700 with a 1.9.
Was that on race gas or E?
It was on race gas on a higher compression motor with a little bit of bump and displacement. I think it was a 5-liter stroker.
And that one had cams too, if I recall.
Had cams.
So if you just want to talk about mirroring setups to get to similar power, everything Justin just said, and it took race gas
and
to keep it safe at that level.
Like that engine, the 3-valve, made 260 wheel stock. We're now talking about
400 horsepower more at the tire.
Yeah. So it's a big bump. So you need some type of competitive advantage. Obviously, having a good blowers on it is important. But like, give us some race gas, give us some E85, something.
We need something more to work with on 93.
Because 650, I mean, you'll be able to run with and beat a lot of the boosted Coyotes, but it's a goal that's up there for an old 3-valve.
Yeah. Is it possible? Yeah. You got to be really conservative with timing, and you kind of have to hope that fuel quality is either really consistent or rely on the NOx sensors to do their job.
And you don't want to count on 93 being, the quality for a race motor.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is basically what you're going after with those power numbers on a 3-valve.
Lou B says, is it possible to put a Coyote in an 06 V6 F-150?
I think that it's possible to put a Coyote into anything that you want to put it into. It's just a matter of the level of fabrication that you're going to have to do to get it in there, and the amount of money it's going to cost you to get it swapped. I mean, I've seen Coyotes in Miatas. I've seen Coyotes in bucket roadsters. It's like, if the will and the money is there, you can do it.
Aaron says, are there any shops in the Dallas, Texas area that does VMP work?
I know a few in Houston. I can't. Is Lethal Performance in Dallas?
I don't know. I don't know where they are in Texas. We've got a list in sales and support, so the best thing to do is call in and see if we can, find somebody on that list. Or come over here to Florida. We got a vacation promotion going. We'll pay for 2 nights in a hotel if you have us install your blower. Have us install our blower on your car.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Poor boy 313 says, what's up? What's good, VMP? Still enjoying my tune.
Nice, nice.
He also says he's got a 13 GT manual. He wants to make 666 horsepower. Would I need a Gen 2 or Gen 3?
That's very possible on a Gen 2 or Gen2R with a decent quality fuel like 93 or 93 in Boostane. I'd say like 79 millimeter pulley, 93 octane or 93 with Boostane. Long tubes and manual should be pretty simple.
Yeah, we could do it with a conservative tune when Joe stacks up all those things.
And
a Gen 3 will do it easier, but it can be done with the Gen 2R as well.
For what it's worth, I've had a few cars make that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
the whole 666 number.
We have.
Like John's car was close to that. And then a couple guys I did out at dyno events made it right around that much.
A couple people jumped in on both channels and they're saying I thought Lethal was in Florida.
There is a Lethal in Florida, but there's also a Lethal Performance in Texas.
Yeah, there's like a Lethal Performance
I don't think
shop.
They're not affiliated in any way, but they're 2 shops named Lethal Performance.
And I would say one's more of like a, dyno installation shop. The other one's more of like an online retailer.
Exactly.
The one in Florida is more of an online retailer.
Exactly.
Mr. GT500 says, hey guys, was about to install my parts and order your 67 throttle body, but his clutch decided to slip. So he has to get that instead. Would it be okay to run the stock 60 millimeter throttle body with the Gen2R 2.4 pulley while I wait?
Yeah, absolutely.
No problem.
Just won't make quite as much power as it will with a 67.
Okay. Poor boy says, oh yeah, time for a bank loan. Lathan says on an 18 GT FI, I guess he's saying, what do you recommend, the PMAS, CI, cold air, or JLT? Which gives the most power and easier to tune in the new ones?
So both are going to be similar from a power standpoint, and from a tuning standpoint, both are going to be pretty similar. There's differences between the two. I'd say more so in looks and in the fact that PMAS supplies tuning data for their cold air intakes, whereas JLT kind of leaves it up to the tuner to define the mass air transfer function and stuff like that. But that's not to say that either one will be any more likely to make more power than the other on a naturally aspirated setup.
So Luke Bonzani, who's a regular tuner inner, I guess you could say, he follows all our shows, says, hey guys, thanks. He's thinking of putting a 79 millimeter pulley on his 14 Gen2R car. And getting a tune update from us for 100 octane. Do you just add 1 can of Boostane per tank of 93? Also,
go ahead.
Would I see a big difference in the 82 millimeter pulley and 100 tune versus 79 millimeter pulley and 100 tune? Current setup is 82 millimeters, 93 octane, stage 2 kit on Gen2R with a 67 millimeter.
So, do you want that one or you want me to take this one?
You can take it, Joe.
So the 79 millimeter pulley race gas versus 82 race gas, you're going to be about 15 horsepower different on those two. But running a 79 millimeter pulley with a 100 octane or 93 with booster race gas tune is going to be a pretty strong setup for a street car. I'd say that going with that course of mods is a good idea. In terms of mixing Boostane, there's a Boostane, is it Marine?
There's a Marine,
a Professional?
Premium, and Professional.
Okay, I think we had Marine or something on the shelf. Essentially, it depends on how much octane you're looking to add to the fuel that you have in terms of what you mix in each tank. If you want what we'll call an aggressive Boostane tune, I'd do 1 can to a tank, a full tank, not a half tank, not a quarter tank, a full tank of fuel. And I want to say that would be up 6 or 7 points on Boostane Professional. So you'd be up from, like, if you're 93 up to 99 or 100 octane.
He has another question. He says, if I run Boostane with my 93 now, will the computer up timing on the 93 tune and 82 millimeter pulley I currently have?
It depends on how happy the car currently is. If you're already -3 on knock sensor when you go watt on your 93 tune for whatever reason, then adding Boostane really isn't going to add a lot of power. That's basically where we draw the limit on what the car is able to add on a 93 tune on 11 to 14 car.
You mean you don't just let it go hog wild?
I don't just let it add up to 10 at 1.5 load. No, I do not.
Yeah.
We try to keep things reasonable to where you never really get it into a situation that it could be potentially bad. We kind of try to keep things within the realm of reason.
Yeah, I mean we know what's out there. So until you tell us you're doing otherwise, we don't really allow it to do something else.
Yeah. So if you have a couple recent logs, or even just looking at your previous logs you've sent us, if you have sent us some, you can look at the knock sensor retard parameter or knock retard parameter on the data log, and if you isolate a wide open throttle portion of the log and you look at that, or graph it, or just scroll through it, and you see -3 towards the top and kind of like maintaining -3, then adding Boostane probably wouldn't be a whole lot of net gain for you from a power standpoint. It'd certainly add reliability to the octane, but it's not going to physically add more power if you're already maxed out on knock sensor advance. So getting a tune update for 93 and Boostane may be something that'd be beneficial for you, but looking at a log would ultimately tell you.
Slowpoke says, what ATI dampener do you recommend on a 13 to 14 Illuminator with built auto?
So I was talking to Mike about this the other day. I'd recommend if you have a built motor, at least do like a 5% on something like that, because why not add a little bit of boost while you're down there doing the pulley anyways. 15% on most pump gas setups is a lot. If you're a built high compression Illuminator, you're really going to have to dial back the upper pulley to keep that reasonable with a 15%. If you're a low compression Illuminator, put a 15% lower on it, and just make sure that your upper pulley is sized appropriately for the octane available. You'll need an accessory drive tensioner at that point. But the thing Mike and I were talking about the other day was the ATI fitment press fit, like the little star that they put on the notes, press fit versus stock crank type stuff. Because I believe the ones that most people are ordering or getting are the one that are that's kind of a tighter fit than the slip fit style that they also sell.
Really? They sell a slip fit style?
Slip fit in that I believe the one that they normally put out there that isn't the one with little asterisk is one that is set up for going to a machine shop or having an aftermarket crank in it that's possibly a little bit smaller.
Okay.
So I meant to bring that up to you, and I figured, well, while I remember, I'll bring it up. But just trying to think of the part number. There's an N part number and then a non-N. If you plan on getting a lower pulley to go with it, get a non-N, an N part number.
Yes, N stands for no AC pulley, which are overdrive rings. The 5% and the 15% replace the AC pulley.
Exactly.
We have about 3 minutes left, and we have probably about 10 or so more questions. So I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up if we can.
Let's start running
Rapid
through
fire?
questions. Yeah.
Derek says, so far with 1050 injectors and fuel pump booster, my Whipple Stage 2 18 GT seems fine. It's Lund tuned on 93. It dynoed 720 to the wheels when it was first tuned. Should I be worried? Without going to E85, as it is not always near me. I run Shell V-Power.
I don't think you have anything to worry
On a
about.
setup like that, I don't think you have anything to worry about. Lund knows what they're doing.
The gentleman that wants to go twin turbo, He's tuned right now with Lund. Sorry. I will get the tuner kit, and I want to push 700 to the wheel for now. That's good enough. But he wants to know if you guys can tune it the same way that Lund tuned it right now.
So Lund tuned it for Hellion that you haven't bought yet? Or is he saying, can we tune it for the naturally aspirated combo right now?
I mean,
I guess short answer is, if Lund's tuning it with an N-gauge, we can't tune it with Lund's N-gauge. It's locked in with their programming. So you'd have to buy an SCTX4 RevX as step 1.
And we can absolutely tune it as long as it's as long as it's set up right and it's not something that's improper combination. But it sounds like you got the proper combination.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, if your car's an 11, or he was a 16 GT automatic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind then. Don't worry about it. Get an X4 or RevX if you want us to tune it.
Milton says, what would win in the quarter? Max effort and a 15 GTSS versus a FBO 06 Z06 SS.
16 GTSS. I'm very confused about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's just say the Mustang's going to win. It's better that way.
Yeah.
Next question.
Julie says, good afternoon, VMP. Okay, she says, I guess there was a 93 tune on her 06 GT at Silver Springs last Ford show.
Okay.
She says it runs amazing, but it was tuned for cold air, and I've changed it to ram air. Do I need to get an update?
As long as if you just put a ram air hood on it and you did not change like the cold air kit with the mass air sensor, like the brand of cold air kit, then you're fine.
Chris wants to know, have you re-dynoed the 12 GT500 with the Gen 3 since adding long tubes? If so, what was the gain?
That is on my list this week to get to that car.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah.
David says, can you bolt the lindco automatic to my 15? It's a standard now. Just wonder if auto is way to go. This is Dave Murdoch again. But it's boring when you start making near 1,000. Also, does the new Auto 10, is what he says.
You're not going to want to swap the new Auto 10 because just the computer's complicated. I mean, aftermarket lindco, that's like an aftermarket race style transmission. That can be, I'm sure that can be done. It's probably going to be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Aaron Clancy says, shout out to the lady reading the questions behind the camera. Thanks, Aaron. What are your thoughts on locking the converter at the drag strut? From Scott Hasty.
It can definitely help mile an hour. I'm not certain that it helps ET, but it does help trap mile an hour by a couple mile an hour. And I know that's something you've been working on, Scott.
Jay says, hey guys, just installed Cook's 1 7/8 long tubes and 3-inch on my 07 GT500. Is it necessary to get a tube update? VMP tube TVS car with supporting mods.
Long tubes, there's things that we can tweak for the O2 sensor being farther away, but depending on where you are in your stage of mods, it doesn't absolutely have to be done. If you're going to be having some stuff revised for some other major mods, then we can just roll it into that.
Just want to get some recognition here. Derek Sizemore says, thanks, you guys are great. And David Murdoch's coming on, sitting there saying, you guys are awesome. Julie just responded, thank you. I changed the hood, but had to reuse the old stock box. Cervini requires stock air box with hood.
Okay, that should be fine then.
And if you guys like us so much, like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, everybody. So share us, subscribe.
I have about 3 more questions, and then we're
Fire away.
done. So Steve says, hi, what is the smallest pulley you can run on a Gen2R on an 08 GT500 with 91 octane? All stock other than cold air and throttle body. What kind of power should it make?
So do you say smallest pulley you can run on 93 octane?
91 octane.
91.
91 octane?
I'd say a 2.5.
Yeah, that's as high, or as numerically high as I'd want to go, and that'd be like with a stock lower type thing.
Yeah. The 91 starts to become a limiting factor even on the low compression GT500 engine.
What's wrong? Wants to know if E85 on a N A Coyote worth it or not.
It helps. It helps a little bit.
If you're running 91 or 89 in the car, I'd say making the switch to E85 is worth it. If you're running good quality 93, it's kind of debatable. It's more of a consistency standpoint, from the standpoint of consistently taking spark advance.
Yeah.
E85, it's going to be a lot happier on than it is on 93.
Like E85 helps the blower cars a lot more than it does the naturally aspirated cars. And then the one, like kind of the one exception to that is 2018. It's like kind of like maxed out, very close to maxed out on 93 already. So E85 is the next step for that car, and it has the factory fuel system to support it.
Yeah.
Derek says, thanks, y'all are great. And Jose says, love the show. Billy says, I love y'all.
Oh man, so many
I know,
loves
I'm
coming
feeling
in.
the love here. Peyton says, what are your opinions on an MT82 as Coyote swap transmission?
I think it's a good trans on a naturally aspirated or lower power blower car, but I don't know if it's a Coyote swap. I'd almost rather see like a TKO 600 or a built T45 or something that's known for being more durable than a MT82 is. Maybe hit up Ben Calamer for either one of his Stage 2 or one of his G-Force gear set MT82s.
And on that note, I forgot to tell the GT500 guy on 91 power numbers, mid to low 600s with, you know, the milder pulley and the milder tune on the 91.
Yep.
Thoughts on inner chiller?
I'm not familiar with inner chiller. I'm familiar with killer chiller. Killer chiller works great.
Going from a Roush head unit with a 79mm to a VMP Gen3, what can I expect in rear wheel numbers at the same boost level?
About 30 to 50 wheel, and you're going to have to run a much bigger pulley. Like if you're on a 79 right now, I'd probably go to an 88.
How can I make my 17 GT with long tube headers shoot flames? It's a tune. What do I need?
Oh,
You need everything.
Oh,
You need everything.
With that said, we're done with questions. I do want to give a shout out. Today is 9/11. So yeah, for all those who lost their lives today, so many years ago now. It's hard to believe. We wanted to give a respect.
I was in college.
I was in middle school.
Yeah.
I was at Lawton Childs Middle School.
To make me not sound too old, I was just starting college. My
I was
first
in geography
semester.
class.
Let's not
Everyone
talk about
remembers where they
old.
were that day.
I was sitting at home getting ready to take a trip up to Boston for my birthday. And needless to say, my trip got canceled because of the attacks. And I was telling these guys earlier here in the media department, what's even more interesting is my parents at the time owned a liquor store on the beach about 30 minutes north of Boston. And long story short, their camera caught some of the terrorists actually in our liquor store. And it was on film, so we reported it to the local authorities, who then had the FBI all up in our area. Everybody down at the beach, a lot of the businesses were Lebanese owned, and that area, so they were all interviewed. And about 15 minutes or so from the liquor store, there is a nuclear power plant in Seabrook. So we don't know whether or not there were more motives possibly in that area, but it was actually pretty interesting. So I remember that time all too well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sad, but nice.
So with that said, I think we will call it a day.
Yeah, like, subscribe, and share to see more of us, and tell your friends about us. Rebecca and Donnie will be on Thursday evening. We'll see you next week.
Have fun, guys.
Bye, everybody.